Hey, on my dog YouTube, welcome back to another video. Long time no speak or watching videos, I don't know. I've not been around for a week. I've seen not many people have watched my videos. Of course, haven't released any new content, so that's not really surprising. But this is episode 13, I want to say, of the History of Your Club in Series 2. And a very interesting one we've got this week. It's a Millwall Football Club, who actually founded as Millwall Rovers by the workers of J.T. Morton's Canning and Preserve Factory in the Millwall area of the Isle of Dogs, which, if you don't know London, is in the East End. And they were founded in 1885. J.T. Morton, and also the company was actually founded in Aberdeen in 1849 to supply sailing ships with food, and the company opened their first English cannery and food processing plant actually at Millwall Dock in 1872, and they therefore attracted a workforce from across the country, including the east coast of Scotland, primarily Dundee. The club secretary was actually a 17-year-old called Jasper Sexton. He was the son of the landlord of the Islander pub in Toke Street, where Millwall had held their club meetings. Millwall Rovers' first fixture was on a piece of waste ground on Glengall Road. This occurred on the 3rd of October 1885 against a team called Filebrook. They played in Leytonstone. And the newly formed team were comfortably beaten 5-0. Rovers found a better playing surface, though, for the 1886-87 season at the rear end of the Lord Nelson pub, and this became known as the Lord Nelson Ground. In November 1886, the East End Football Association was formed. This came along with a senior cup competition, and Millwall actually made it to the final against a team called London Caledonians, which they played this match at the Leyton Cricket Ground. The match finished 2-2, and the teams shared the cup for 6 months each. Millwall won the East London Senior Cup at its first attempt. The club also won the cup in the following 2 years, and the trophy became their property. In April 1889, a resolution was passed for Millwall to drop the Rovers part from their name, and they began playing under the new name of Millwall Athletic. This was inspired by their move to their new home ground, the Athletic Ground, or grounds, I think it is, plural. They were then founding members of the Southern Football League, which they won for the first 2 years of its existence, and they were then also runners-up in its third. During this period, the club was invited to join the second division of the Football League, but the committee turned down the opportunity, definitely due to the expected increase in travelling expenses, but they also wanted to stay loyal to the Southern League as well. They were forced to move to a new ground in North Greenwich in 1901, as the Millwall Dock Company wanted to use their land as a timber yard. Understandable. Not really. Millwall Athletic reached the semi-finals, actually, of the FA Cup in 1900 and again in 1903. And they were also champions of a Western Football League, don't ask me how they were in that league, in 1908 and 1909. On the 10th of October 1910, Millwall played their last game as an East London club against Woolwich Arsenal in the London Challenge Cup. Millwall won the game 1-0 in front of a crowd of 3,000 fans. Millwall moved to a new stadium named The Den, which was located in New Cross, which is actually in South London, and they moved there in 1910. The club had previously occupied 4 different grounds in the 25 years since their formation in East London. Limited expansion space on the Isle of Dogs therefore meant that the Lions had to boost support and attendances. The estimated cost of the Den was £10,000, which was a lot in them days. The first match played at the new ground was on the 22nd of October 1910 against reigning Southern League champions Brighton and Hove Albion, who won 1-0. Millwall, who now also dropped Athletic from their name, were there again invited to join the Football League in 1920 for the 1920-21 season. They, along with 22 other clubs, formed the new Football League Third Division. The Southern League was shorn of its status, with almost all of the clubs deciding to leave, including Millwall. Millwall's first Football League match was on the 28th of August 1920 at the Den, and they were 2-0 winners against Bristol Rovers. In the 1925-1926 season, Millwall had 11 consecutive clean sheets. This at the time, and I think may even still be, a Football League record, which they jointly held with York City and Reading. Millwall became known as the hard-fighting cup team and competed in various memorable matches. Notably, they defeated three-time league winners and reigning champions Huddersfield Town 3-1 in the third round of the 1926-27 FA Cup. In the 1927-28 season, Millwall won the Third Division South title and scored 87 goals at home in the league, an English record which still stands to this day. Matches against Sunderland and Derby County saw packed crowds of 48,000 plus in the 1930s and 1940s. Their 1937 FA Cup run saw Millwall reach the semi-finals for the third time, and a fifth-round game against Derby still stands as Millwall's record attendance of 48,762. Millwall were the 11th best supported team in England in 1939. This was despite them still being in the second division. Millwall were one of the most financially wealthy clubs, therefore, in England. The club proposed plans to improve the Den and signed international players. Winger Reg J.R. Smith was capped twice, scoring 2 goals for England in 1938. The Lions were pushing for promotion to the First Division towards the end of the decade, but 1 week into the 1939-40 season, World War II broke out and Millwall were robbed of their aim. On the 7th of April 1945, Millwall appeared in the Football League Walk-Up final at Wembley Stadium against Chelsea. But because it was a wartime cup final, it is not acknowledged in the record books. With the war in Europe in its last days, the number of spectators allowed to attend games was very much relaxed. The attendance was therefore 90,000. This was the largest crowd Millwall have ever played in front of. Including in this was actually King George VI, whom the team were introduced to before kick-off. The loss of so many young men during the Second World War made it difficult for clubs to retain their former status. This was especially true for Millwall, who appeared to suffer more than most. From being one of the country's biggest clubs before the war, Millwall reduced to one of the smallest shortly afterwards. The Den sustained severe bombing damage on the 19th of April 1943, and 1 week later a fire, determined to have been caused by a discarded cigarette, also destroyed an entire stand. The club accepted offers from neighbours Charlton Athletic, Crystal Palace and West Ham United to stage games at their grounds. On the 24th of February 1944, Millwall returned to the Den to play in an all-standing stadium. This was achieved with considerable volunteer labour by Lions fans. Millwall's fortunes fluctuated in the immediate post-war years. They were relegated to Division 3 South in 1948 and had to apply for re-election to the league in 1950 after finishing in the bottom two. An upswing in fortunes that saw Millwall finish 5th, 4th, and then runners-up in Division 3 South in the 1952-53 season. But with the champions being promoted during this time, Millwall found themselves stuck in the third tier, despite averaging crowds of over 20,000. Millwall then suffered a downswing in fortunes with a number of bottom-half finishes. One highlight of the period, though, was one of the biggest giant-killing upsets in the 4th round of the 1956-57 FA Cup on the 26th of January 1957, when Millwall beat Newcastle United 2-1 in front of a crowd of 45,646. Millwall suffered the ill fortune of becoming the founding member of Division 4 in 1958. While initially suffering from this reorganisation, the deregionalisation of the 3rd Division North and 3rd Division South opened up the way for promotion via the runners-up spots. Millwall won the Division 4 title in 1962 with the help of 23 goals from Peter Burridge and 22 from Dave Jones. They were relegated again in the 1963-64 season, but were to bounce back by winning back-to-back promotions as runners-up. This is the last time Millwall have played in the 4th tier. Later in the decade, Millwall established a record of 59 home games without a defeat. This was 43 wins and 16 draws. This took place from the 22nd of August 1964 to the 14th of January 1967. During this spell, Millwall played 55 different teams, kept 35 clean sheets, scored 112 goals, and only conceded 33. This was thanks largely to managers Billy Gray, who laid the foundations, and Benny Fenton, a former player who continued to build on Gray's side. All the players, which included winger Barry Rowan, the goalkeeper Alex Stepney, and strikers Hugh Curran and Len Julians, were presented with a commemorative gold cigarette lighter by the Football Association. What a nice gift that is, eh? The record was eventually broken by Liverpool, who were unbeaten for 63 games at home between the years 1978 and 1981. In the early 1970s, the Millwall team included many notable and memorable players, now remembered by some fans as the class of 71. Bit of a hark off from the class of 92, I imagine. This was a team that included goalkeeper Brian King, defender Harry Cripps, goal-scoring midfielder Derek Posse, Millwall's most capped international player to date, Eamon Dunphy, and the club's longest-serving player, Barry Kitchener. They missed out on promotion to Division 1 by 1 point. By remaining unbeaten at home in Division 2 for the 1971-72 season, Millwall became the only club to go for an entire season without losing in a match at home in 4 different divisions. This being the 1927-28 Division 3 South, the 1964-65 Division 4, the 1965-66 Division 3, and the 1971-72 Division 2. In 1974, Millwall hosted the first game to be played on a Sunday against Fulham. The Lions reached the quarterfinals of the League Cup in 1974 and again in 1977. George Graham managed Millwall from 1983 to 1986, and during that time he guided the club to a Football League Group Cup win, beating Lincoln City 3-2 in the final in the 1982-83 season. The 1984-85 season was particularly successful. Millwall reached the FA Cup quarter-finals and gained promotion to the 2nd Division, going unbeaten at home again in Division 3, winning 18 games and drawing 5. In the FA Cup, they were beaten 1-0 by 1st Division Luton Town at Kenilworth Road. The match is remembered for all the wrong reasons, however, after hooligans rioted at the game, with 81 people, including 31 police officers, being injured in the disturbances. Well, that's unfortunately what Millwall tend to be known as now, ain't it? Graham's replacement was Glaswegian John Docherty. In his 2nd season as manager, Millwall won the 2nd Division Championship and gained promotion to the top flight of English football for the first time in the club's history. Starting the 1988-89 season strongly, Millwall topped the league on the 1st of October 1988, having played 6 games, winning 4 and drawing 2. And they really slipped out of the top 5 really before Christmas. This was mainly due to Tony Cascarino and Teddy Sheringham, who scored 99 goals between them in 3 seasons playing together. Millwall's first top division season ended with a 10th place finish, which was the lowest place occupied by the club all season. The following season, they briefly led the league for one night in September 1989 after they beat Coventry City 4-1, but won only 2 more games all season and therefore were ultimately relegated in 20th place at the end of the 1989-90 season. Just before relegation was confirmed, however, Docherty was sacked and replaced by ex-Middlesbrough manager Bruce Rioch. Striker Teddy Sheringham, who later played for England, was the highest scoring player throughout the Football League in the 1990-91 season, was sold to Nottingham Forest for £2 million after Millwall's 6-2 defeat to Brighton and Hove Albion in the second division playoffs. Rioch left Millwall in 1992 to be succeeded by Irish defender Mick McCarthy. McCarthy guided Millwall to third place in the new Division 1 at the end of the 1993-94 season. This was their first season at a new ground. At first, it was known as the New Den to distinguish it from its predecessor, but now it's really just called the Den, which was opened by the Labour Party leader John Smith on the 4th of August 1993. The new ground was the first all-seater stadium to be built in England after the Taylor Report on the Hillsborough disaster. The Lions knocked Arsenal out of the 1994-95 FA Cup in the third round replay, beating them 2-0 at Highbury. They also reached the quarterfinals of the League Cup in 1995. However, I think Derby got a revenge, really, haven't they? Where Millwall lost 5-1 in aggregate to Derby County in the playoff semi-finals that same 1994-95 season, in a tie blighted by crowd trouble. McCarthy resigned to take charge of the Republic of Ireland national team on the 5th of February 1996, shortly after Millwall had been knocked off the top of the Division 1 table by Sunderland following a 6-0 defeat. Jimmy Nicholl of Raith Rovers was appointed as Mick McCarthy's replacement, but could not reverse the slump in form, which saw Millwall relegated at the end of the 1995-96 season in 22nd place, because there are 22 teams back then. Just 5 months earlier, they had been at the top of Division 1, but now Millwall found themselves... Oh wait, no, ignore that. I think it's because they're 22nd. Yeah, it's normal. I was thinking something else. Carry on. Just 5 months earlier, they had been top of Division 1, but now Millwall found themselves in the third tier for the 1996-97 season. The club experienced severe financial difficulties that resulted in them being placed in financial administration for only a short time, to be fair. Nicholl was relieved of his duties, and John Docherty returned on a short-time basis to stabilise the club. Millwall came out of administration, and new chairman Theo Paphitis appointed ex-West Ham United manager Billy Bonds as manager. The 1997-98 season was not a successful one, with the club hovering close to a relegation to the fourth tier. Bonds was sacked and replaced by Keith Rhino Stevens, with Alan McCleary as his assistant. McCleary was later promoted to the role of joint manager alongside Stevens. Stevens and McCleary led Millwall to their first ever official appearance at Wembley Stadium. The Lions reached the 1999 right amount of nines there, Football League Trophy final with a golden goal win against Gillingham in the semi-finals and a 2-1 aggregate victory over Walsall in the regional final. They then faced Wigan Athletic in the final, but while playing in front of 49,000 of their own fans, lost 1-0 to an injury time goal. Millwall also lost 1-0 on aggregate to Wigan in the second division playoff semi-finals in the 1999-2000 season, therefore creating a bit of tension between clubs, I imagine. Mark McGee was named as Millwall's new manager in September 2000, and 8 months later the club won promotion as Division 2 champions, with the team built by Keith Stevens after 5 years in the third tier of the league. They finished with 93 points, which is a club record, and they won the first match of the 2001-2 season 4-0 at home to Norwich City. This set the team up well for a good year, in which Millwall qualified for the Division 1 playoffs, but they lost to eventual winners Birmingham City 2-1 in the semi-finals. Millwall finished mid-table. Millwall finished mid-table in the 2002-3 season, and McGee was sacked soon after the start of the 2003-4 season. In 2003, Dennis Wise, ex-Chelsea and England player, became caretaker manager, and subsequently became permanent player manager of the club. In his first season in charge, Wise led the club to the first FA Cup final in their history, when Millwall took to the field at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff. They were only the second team from outside the top flight to play in the cup final since 1982, and were the first team from outside the Premier League to reach the final since the foundation of that as the top tier in 1992. The club was missing 16 players from their squad due to either suspension or injury. They played the cup final on the 22nd of May 2004 and lost 3-0 to Manchester United. As United had already qualified for the UEFA Champions League, Millwall were therefore assured a place of playing in the UEFA Cup. Midfielder Curtis Weston was substituted for Wise with 1 minute of normal time remaining. Because the youngest cup final player, he became the youngest cup final player in history at 17 years and 119 days old, beating the 125-year-old record of James F.M. Prinsep. In the 2004-05 UEFA Cup, Millwall lost 4-2 on aggregate in the first round proper to Hungarian champions Ferencváros, with Wise scoring both goals for Millwall. In 2005, Theo Paphitis announced that he was stepping down as chairman of the club, with Jeff Burnage to replace him from May 2005. At the end of the 2004-05 season, manager Dennis Wise announced that he was leaving as he was unable to form a working relationship with the new chairman. Former Millwall striker Steve Claridge was announced as the new player manager of Millwall. However, when Burnage then stepped down just 2 months after taking up the post, it was announced on the 27th of July that Claridge had been sacked after just 36 days, without ever taking charge of a team in a competitive match. It's a bit ridiculous, that. Former Wolverhampton Wanderers manager Colin Lee replaced him, but he only lasted 5 months at the club. On the 21st of December, with the club bottom of the championship, he became the club's director of football and was replaced as manager by 32-year-old player David Tootle on a short-term contract only until the end of the 2005-06 season. Tootle had no prior experience in football management, and in February 2006, Lee left the club altogether. Millwall therefore experienced a difficult season, having had 4 managers in 2005 alone. Their 13 goals scored at home was the second worst in Football League history. Their relegation to League One was confirmed on the 17th of April 2006 with a 2-0 loss against Southampton. In the closed season, Nigel Spackman was appointed as the new manager. But again, a quick turnaround of managers. He only lasted 4 months after a string of bad results. In September 2006, Theo Paphitis, who was the chairman from 1997 to 2005, ended his 9-year association with the club after a year-long spell as a non-executive director. On the 19th of March 2007, Willie Donachie signed a 2-year contract following some progress, which had seen the club climb to 11th place in the league. Before Donachie took charge, Millwall had only taken 6 points from their first 10 games. In the 2007-08 season, Millwall sat bottom of the league at the beginning of October. Donachie was sacked on the 8th of October, with Richard Shaw and Colin West becoming caretaker managers. In March 2007, Chestnut Hill Ventures, led by American John Berylison, which have interests in business and financial services, retail, property and sport, invested £5 million into the club. The continued investment of Berylison, who has since become the club's major shareholder and chairman, has steered the Lions on a better course on and off the pitch. The appointment of Kenny Jackett as manager on the 6th of November 2007 proved to be crucial. Over the course of the next 2 seasons, Jackett led Millwall to 2 top 6 finishes in League One, in 5th and 3rd place respectively. He won the League One Manager of the Month award 3 times while in charge of the club. Several of his key signings helped propel Millwall towards the playoffs and eventual promotion. After a playoff final defeat in the 2008-9 season against Scunthorpe United and losing out on automatic promotion on the last day of the 2009-10 season to Leeds United by 1 point, Millwall made it back to Wembley, finally breaking the playoff hoodoo run of 5 successive failures in 1991, 1994, 2000, 2002 and 2009, with a 1-0 win in the 2010 League One playoff final against Swindon Town, securing a return to the Football League Championship after a 4-year absence. Millwall's first game back in the Championship was a 3-0 away win at Bristol City. The game had been much hyped due to City's signing of then England goalkeeper David James. Only days after the defeat, Steve Coppell resigned as City manager. The Lions celebrated the 125th anniversary of the club on the 2nd of October 2010, which was the closest home game date to the first fixture Millwall ever played against Firelbrook on the 3rd of October 1885. Millwall drew 1-1 with Burnley and wore a special one-off kit for the game, made by the manufacturers Macron, who bore the names of every footballer who had played for the club. Kenny Jackett celebrated 5 years in charge of the club in November 2012 with a 4-1 away victory at Nottingham Forest. After a strong start to the 2012-13 season, including a 13-game unbeaten run and flirting with the playoffs, Millwall finished poorly with only 5 wins in the last 23 games, narrowly avoiding relegation on the last day of the season. Their poor league form coincided with reaching the semi-final of the FA Cup for the 5th time in their history. They played Wigan Athletic at Wembley Stadium on the 14th of April 2013, but lost 2-0 to the eventual cup winners. Kenny Jackett resigned on the 7th of May 2013, and he was Millwall's 4th longest-serving manager. After a month of searching, Millwall appointed St Johnstone boss Steve Lomas as their new manager on the 6th of June 2013. His appointment provoked mixed emotions amongst some supporters due to him being a former captain of West Ham United, which, if you didn't know, is their biggest rival. Club record goalscorer Neil Harris returned to Millwall as a coach on the 23rd of June 2013, after retiring as a player through injury. Millwall sacked Lomas on the 26th of December 2013 after winning only 5 of his first 22 games in charge. Harris and youth team coach Scott Fitzgerald took over as joint caretaker managers. On the 4th of January 2014, Millwall lost a ridiculous result 4-1 at Southend United in the FA Cup, a team 31 places below them in the football pyramid. Harris actually described the performance as shambles. The club appointed Ian Holloway as their new manager on the 6th of January 2014, with the club sitting 21st in the Championship table. He was given the priority of maintaining their Football League Championship status, which he did achieve. Millwall went unbeaten in the last 8 games of the 2013-14 season and finished in 19th place. This was only 4 points above the relegation zone. The following season, Holloway was sacked on the 10th of March 2015, with the team second from bottom in the Championship, and Neil Harris was reinstated as caretaker manager until the end of the season. He was unable to ensure survival, however, as Millwall's relegation to League One was confirmed on the 28th of April, with 1 game of the 2014-15 season still to play. Harris was confirmed as Millwall's permanent manager, however, the next day. In his first full season in charge, Harris led Millwall to a 4th place finish in League One and a playoff final at Wembley, which the Lions lost 3-1 to Barnsley. In the 2016-17 FA Cup, Millwall reached the quarter-finals for the 10th time in their history, knocking out Premier League opposition in 3 consecutive rounds, with Bournemouth in the 3rd round, Watford in the 4th round, and reigning Premier League champions Leicester City in the 5th round. On the 28th of February 2017, Millwall beat Peterborough United 1-0 and increased their unbeaten run to 16 games in all competitions, and have gone 9 games without conceding a goal for the first time since the 1925-26 season. Millwall made it to the League One playoff final at Wembley for the 2nd successive year, after beating Scunthorpe United 3-2 in the semi-final. They were promoted back to the Championship following a 1-0 playoff victory over Bradford City, thanks to an 85th minute winner from Steve Morrison, his 86th goal for the club. In Millwall's return to the Championship in the 2017-18 season, the team went on a club record 17-game unbeaten run, their longest streak in the second tier, which surpassed a record of 15 set in 1971. During the undefeated run, they won 6 away wins in a row, equaling a club record set in 2008-9 season. In the 2018-19 FA Cup, Millwall once again reached the quarterfinals for an 11th time, only losing to Premier League side Brighton on penalties. In the previous round, they knocked out Premier League side Everton to equal Southampton's FA Cup giant killings record, having knocked out 25 top-flight teams when not in the top flight themselves. On the 3rd of October 2019, Neil Harris resigned as Millwall manager, with the club sitting in 18th place, with 2 wins from their first 10 championship games. Harris led Millwall to Wembley twice, with 1 promotion and 2 FA Cup quarterfinals during his tenure. He was the line's 5th longest serving manager, having spent 4.5 years at the club. On the 21st of October, he was replaced by former Stoke City and Derby manager Gary Rowett. So I hope you all very much enjoyed that video. Please remember to subscribe, or you don't even have to subscribe if you don't want to. It's just very helpful for me. I really, really would appreciate it if you do subscribe. Let's talk about what's coming up. I'm probably going to be ending up doing Euro predictions on Sunday. I think that'll be quite a fun thing to do. And then a history of Norwich City will be coming up next week on Thursday. So thank you very much, and I'll see you later.